How exciting and scary at the same time. This is the project's first manned mission into unformatted matter and I get to go along. Nick and Penelope are so relaxed that you'd think they've done this 100 times.
Here's where all that lab theory turns into real life. Literally.
I know. It's one thing to use an Einstein radio made from unformatted matter, but this is a whole new level. It's crazy to think that we could make our own piece of reality with unformatted matter.
Even crazier to visit it. Do you think you're ready for this?
As long as you two are there, I'll be fine.
We'll be with you every step of the way. After this mission you'll be a pro.
I don't know about that.
I'm sure you'll be a pro in no time, and when that day comes I'll remind you of this moment.
It's hard to be nervous when you two talk like that.
Well, it's all true.
You two make a great pair. The moment of silence is priceless.
To review.
This is getting good. Those two make the cutest couple.
I'm sorry. Penelope, you first.
This world was created with solving world-ending problems in mind. The goal is to gather information on technology that might be developed as a result.
Penelope pauses and turns to Nick.
What were you going to say, Nick?
Well, that's what I was going to say too.
I can't wait to start.
We'd better get our gear for the mission.
I bet Nick only brought the essentials. You're always so practical that way. I bet you I have better music though. And snacks.
Now that you mention it. I didn't bring either. I did remember to bring the water though.
I'd share my snacks with you if you ask nice.
I would ask very nicely. And I'd share my water with you. Of course.
I can't wait. Let's get this adventure started.
We make such a great team. You two bring necessities and I bring youthful vitality. Our conversation is interrupted by a crackle over the loudspeaker.
Everyone, get ready. Once the timer starts you'll have 2 hours to get things done. Then you get sent home. Finished or not. Arrival in unformatted matter in 3, 2, 1.
Something doesn't seem right.
Where are the people we were supposed to meet when we arrived?
My backpack is gone.
That's not all. My purse is gone.
Oh no. What are we going to do? We aren't off to a very good start.
Everything will be all right.
Penelope looks at me and begins to take slow, deliberate breaths. I mimic her without thinking and I start to get a handle on my emotions.
Don't worry. Everything is under control.
What do you mean? This situation is totally out of control. Your stuff is gone. The people we expected to meet are nowhere to be found. And we're stuck here for 2 hours.
You said it yourself. In 2 hours we all go home. Totally safe and sound.
With that fact, my panic is replaced with embarrassment. When you put it that way.
See. You're in total control of how you respond to the situation. I'm sure you've been in tougher spots than this. No matter what happens on this mission, you'll come out of it with more experience.
So what do you say we make the most of things and explore?
I'm so lucky to have Nick and Penelope with me. I take a deep breath and try to smile. If we have to be here, then we might as well make the most of it.
I knew you could take control and face your fears.
It's easier with you two encouraging me. I just wish we had more help. Penelope puts her hand on my shoulder.
Every mission you complete will build your confidence because you'll know how to do things. That is a kind of control. After a few missions, you'll be the one taking charge. You won't be looking to us for help. We'll be looking to you.
After this mission, you'll be a pro. I'm sure of it.
With encouraging words like that, I can't help but be confident. I start to imagine coming back from this mission and being celebrated a hero. My anxiety is turning into excitement. Okay. I'm ready for this.
I'm proud of you. Facing your fears and taking control of the situation is never easy.
And both of us will be here for you, but I'm sure you won't need us. We'll be more useful as cheerleaders.
I think Nick's right.
I laugh, and that takes the edge off the situation. Just as I relax, I hear a van drive up to the curb.
Were the team you were expecting to meet up with?
Wow. You're a robot.
Androids are robots, so. Yes. I'm a robot. Please don't be alarmed. My name is Anne. This is Andy. He's an android too.
I can see that. Sorry, but we were expecting to meet people, not androids.
Your reaction is understandable. All that aside, together we can help you solve world-ending problems. I can explain everything on the way to our lab. If you'll please come with me.
This does help put us back on the mission.
You're right. This is definitely a sign pointing in the right direction.
Here's hoping that our luck is changing for the better. Nick is the first to get in the van, followed by Penelope, and finally I get in. We're sure lucky you came along when you did. I'm not sure if we would have been able to complete our mission if you hadn't come along.
It wasn't all luck. You chose to take advantage of our help. Thank you for trusting us.
Speaking of the mission, what exactly is your plan?
We'll be headed to our lab, where we've almost finished constructing the device.
What device?
It's hard to explain what it is. As you can imagine, we've had countless setbacks with earthquakes, floods and everything else. When we get to the lab, I can show you how everything works. At least I can show you when we get it working.
On that note, putting everything together and testing it may take more than 2 hours. We were hoping that you could contact your lab team and ask for more time.
You know that we were sent by a lab.
Yes, of course. We know all about labs. You must work in one. Just like us.
I shouldn't have been surprised about that.
But how did you know about our 2-hour limit?
I didn't. I just know that it will take more than 2 hours to assemble the device.
I feel silly for being so distrusting.
Unfortunately, we can't contact them.
We know that, and so we created a device which allows you to talk with them. It's a device similar to your Einstein radio.
I have a few questions I'd like to ask relating to the statement you just made.
I'm glad you're asking the questions. I'm afraid I would come off as distrusting.
I have detected that you were distressed. Is there anything we can do to relieve your distress?
Yes, you can. Please tell us what you know about the Einstein radio.
Of course. I would be glad to answer any question. Using unformatted matter, you create a device with all the knowledge on any given subject. The device can then provide answers derived from that body of knowledge. The questions you pose to the device are in the form of audio and it answers in the form of audio too. So the device is affectionately referred to as an Einstein radio.
That is absolutely accurate. You mentioned that you made a device that would allow us to talk to our team.
Yes. Because the environment we are in is unformatted matter. It stands to reason that two-way communication can be made with your world. The real world.
You know you're not real.
I was going to ask what they knew about unformatted matter, but that's a good question too.
Yes. We're made of what you call unformatted matter. Understanding who you are is the first step to changing anything. In order to find solutions to world-ending problems, we needed to understand what we really were.
So what are you?
We're androids created from unformatted matter with the purpose of solving world-ending problems.
Do you think that the device back in your lab can solve world-ending problems?
We're not sure, but we think so.
When would you like us to make that call?
Once we arrive at the lab. Thank you.
I was wondering. Are you artificially intelligent?
Even where you're from. Computers and other devices have been artificially intelligent as far back as the 70s. Any device that can pick more than one way to solve a problem is intelligent. That is definitely true of any device that can decide what to do based on a problem's variables.
We can do the latter.
That answer isn't very satisfying. I think there's more to it. Can you decide what problem you want to solve? Or can you decide that there is a problem you don't want to solve?
I don't think you're talking about intelligence but autonomy instead.
Aren't they mostly the same thing?
Andy really knows how to explain this. Andy, could you?
We are told what our major goals are and we can use our intelligence to solve problems relating to those goals. We can make small goals ourselves that, once solved, can be used to make progress towards those larger goals.
So you can choose what problems you want to solve, at least a little.
We have a lot of autonomy when it comes to solving our major goals. Yes.
Do you feel that solving problems is within your control, or do you think that external forces, like your programming, control the outcome?
Before they answer that question, we need to ask if they even care if they can control the outcome.
We all look at the androids, wondering what they will answer.
I'm certain we can complete our task of solving world-ending problems. We were programmed to. So yes. We care about that.
I wish I could be that sure of things. How about it though? Can you choose to do something other than solve world-ending problems?
Actually, you weren't programmed with any world-ending solutions. As far as I know, at best, you were programmed with a bunch of facts and asked to solve world-ending problems.
That is largely true.
There is a moment of silence and Nick continues.
So you have the potential to do more than solve world-ending problems. Can you decide on major goals without being asked and still feel that it's achievable?
There's another moment of deafening silence. That's a heavy question, Nick. I always feel like my success is mostly up to chance. That's especially true for new things that I'm trying.
I did notice that you were very unsure of our chances for success when we first arrived.
That's true. I regretfully admit.
There's nothing to be ashamed of. You were the one that successfully changed your attitude. Never forget that.
All that positive talk always makes my fears melt away.
So how about it, Anne? Are you able to decide to do your own tasks?
I don't know. The opportunity has never presented itself.
That's a fair answer.
Is the van stopping?
The van is programmed to stop when there is an important problem to solve.
Well, let's see what problem needs solving.
That's a bad fire.
Are we supposed to help put it out?
I have contacted the fire department about the situation.
Did you hear a dog whine?
The dog is on the bottom floor.
Will the fire department get here in time?
Can we do anything to help?
I don't know if the fire department will arrive in time. I'm fireproof. I can go in to rescue the dog.
What about the mission?
I believe the dog is a more urgent concern. It is not fireproof and will get hurt if it isn't rescued.
Is saving the dog as important as the mission?
Yes.
I like where this line of reasoning is going.
Not that you need my permission, but I'd like to see you save the dog.
In an instant, Andy vanished into the building. What if we don't finish our mission because of this?
The world's problems can wait a little while. This is more important.
I think so too.
I'm glad Nick and Penelope are here. I don't know if I could make these kinds of tough decisions on my own. After a few tense moments, Andy returns to the van. I'm really glad we decided to save the dog. This place may not be real, technically, but it feels real.
That settles whether or not you have autonomy. You obviously do. You're masters of your own fate now.
As we get in the van, I watch as the fire department puts out the fire. Next stop. The lab. Wow. Look at all this stuff. What is that large ball used for, and why is it being held up by those two arms?
Is that the device you're working on, which is supposed to solve world-ending problems?
Yes. We can only get parts of it working, so we're not sure. It seems to create a bubble of unknown energy around the lab. We haven't been able to keep it on long enough to see if it affects anything.
I'm sorry to change the subject, but we would like you to contact your team and request more time.
That's a good idea.
Anne and I made headsets so that you could communicate with your lab. We never used them because there was a good chance no one would believe us. Please try them on.
My headset is a nice fit. Why do the headsets have glasses?
We were hoping to have video projected onto them, but didn't have time for that feature.
That would have been cool.
All of the Einstein radios operate on the same principle. We can intercept one that your team is currently using and you can talk with them. Are you ready?
Yes. Tell us when we're connected.
Andy gives a signal and Nick takes a deep breath.
This is Nick. Can anyone hear me? This is Nick. Can anyone?
Nick, is that you? How did you override the Einstein radio?
We all breathe a sigh of relief.
That's a long story. Right now I need you to put the mission lead on the line.
Sure thing. Give me a minute.
It seemed like the longest minute ever, but finally Nick starts talking with someone. Their conversation starts to fade as I begin to think of how this mission has been one obstacle after another.
You look to be in distress. Is there something wrong?
The problems just keep coming. Where do I start? First, we arrived here without our supplies. Then we needed to rescue a dog from a burning building. I don't even want to think of what would have happened to the dog if we didn't come along. We saved the dog. But we might not have made it to the lab in time to call our team and ask for more time. How do you deal with all the problems? And the possibility of mistakes?
That is a hard question to answer. Andy and I follow our programming for the most part. We decide how to do things. Not really what we do.
But you did decide to rescue the dog. And your programming didn't tell you to do that. That proves you have more autonomy than you realized you had.
Penelope turns to me and smiles.
I overheard what you were saying. And thought you needed an encouraging word. Whenever you try to do anything, there is a possibility of failure. And failure is okay. People don't usually succeed on the first try. And if you fail 1,000 times, it doesn't mean you're destined to fail.
It's hard to keep trying when everything seems out of your control.
In times like that, it's important for you to be able to identify the things you can control in a situation.
But what about the times where you don't control anything?
But you can always control your attitude. For example, viewing every attempt as an opportunity to learn or adapt your strategy is better than thinking every failure is proof that you will never succeed. The reason a positive attitude is so important is because you'll stop trying if you think that you won't succeed.
So let's say that I stay positive. How do I figure out what I can control?
Think about the specific problem. And try to think of resources you'll need to solve it. Any resource you can get which helps you solve the problem. is actually a way to control it.
I guess you're right.
Another thing that can help is to think of as many different solutions to the problem as you can.
How does that help?
Because different solutions can require different resources. Some solutions may be easier for you to try out.
That makes sense.
It's easy for me to think of different solutions. I have been programmed with thousands.
That reminds me. Researching solutions that others have used is a great way to try to find a solution. Looking at how other people have solved problems that you're facing can also remind you that these problems can be solved. After all, if they can do it, so can you.
I can see why it's important to surround yourself with people who have different perspectives. You never know who will see a problem from a unique point of view.
I look away from Penelope in shame. It seems that I'm never that person. Anne looks at me and I wonder what she'll say.
I'm sure you bring youthful vitality to your team.
That's what I said before we started the mission.
I can see why. Despite all that has happened, you've bounced back. And you're still willing to go forward. That sounds like the definition of youthful vitality to me.
What do you say, pup? Do you think I have youthful vitality? I pet the dog's coat. I'm sure glad we rescued you. You love and trust unconditionally, don't you? That proves love can solve problems, doesn't it? It was definitely good that Anne and Andy decided to help. Just then, I notice Penelope look at Andy.
What made you decide to do something you weren't programmed to do?
I looked at what it took to solve the problem, and saw that I had everything I needed to do it. So I did it.
Well, we're all very glad you did. It shows that you in fact have autonomy.
Yes. That would appear true.
My attention turns to the dog. I bet you could solve all the world's problems with cuteness. Right, boy. Petting the dog really relaxes me. I feel a lot better now. I wish we could take the dog with us. I take a deep breath in order to bring myself back to the moment. I smile at Andy. You're a remarkable machine. You're programmed to try. To never give up.
You're programmed too.
I wish it were that easy.
People tell you what you can and can't do. If you think they know what they're talking about, you listen to them. And if you think they don't know what they're talking about, you ignore them. Isn't that a kind of programming?
But you can be reprogrammed. I wish I could be reprogrammed to never give up. Or to be happy all the time.
You can reprogram yourself. That's what autonomy is all about. When you decide what you want to do, you're being autonomous. It's also referred to as an internal locus of control.
How does that help me to never give up or to be happy?
Like Andy said, people believe they can or can't do things mostly because people said so. When you surround yourself with people who encourage you,
Like Nick.
you do it too, Penelope.
I know. I just like blaming you.
What I'm saying is that you choose the kind of people you associate with. And that is one way to program yourself.
But isn't that like other people programming me?
No. Because you choose whose ideas you accept.
I think I get your meaning. So how can I make myself happy all the time?
Everything about your personality is either something you choose, or something you let others choose for you. In the case of emotions, you're in that state because you want to be that way, or you gave someone the power to make you that way.
That's pretty deep. What about bad things that make you sad? The situation did that. Not people.
It's not the situation that made you sad. It's the interpretation of the situation that made you sad. Two people can go through the exact same event and produce different emotional responses.
I smile. I'll have to think about that.
Nick is right. You can change your mind at any time and choose an entirely new direction for your life. If you decide you want to try to be a happier person, you can do that. History has many examples of people who have changed their lives for the better. In fact, it's you who is the remarkable machine.
Speaking of machines, what will happen to you when all this is over? When I go home,
We go back to being whatever we were before we were shaped into what we are.
I wish you could come back with us.
It's highly likely that your team will be able to learn about the technologies which make us up. You may be able to rebuild us when you get back.
I don't know if anything we build would be the same as you. That's sad when you think about it.
If you would miss us, that means we had a positive impact in your life. That makes me very happy. And if it just so happens that we remember you when we go back to being whatever we were, then we will miss you also.
No matter what, you will carry memories of us back with you. So in a way we won't ever be apart.
Well, the mission isn't over yet. In fact, the lab said they can give us 2 more hours, but aren't sure if they can give us more. They'll keep working on the problem and hopefully be able to get us more time if we need it. But we shouldn't count on it.
Finally, some good news. Did the team say anything else?
I told them about our situation, and they were very interested in the big metal ball. I say we start working on getting that running. Andy, how can we do that? What would be the best way for us to help you?
That is unnecessary. This is our problem. We're responsible for fixing it.
None of this. God helps those who help themselves. Talk. Even if that is in the Bible.
It's not in the Bible.
It's not. I guess I'm just learning a lot today.
I consider what everyone said for a minute and then speak up. I agree with Nick and Penelope. You should let us help you. After all, we're kind of responsible for this situation. Our lab created this world.
I'm surprised. In a very good way.
Look who the captain of their own ship is. I'm so proud of you.
You're becoming a pro right before our very eyes.
I start to get a little embarrassed by the attention. Because what they're saying about me doesn't feel very true. Well, we have a lot of work to do and I'm not sure where to start.
We need more information before we pick a direction to go in. For example, how do we think all this works? Or what is our goal?
Andy and I think the spherical part of the device generates a field by spinning.
Unfortunately, the arms that orient the sphere limit its freedom of movement.
Then why are the arms there at all?
The arms position the sphere. The better it is positioned, the better it spins. Andy can give you all the data gathered on that.
It took a lot of research and experimentation. But we finally put the sphere into what we think is its ideal position. The sphere levitates independently and spins with the arms attached. But the arms also limit the speed it can go.
This reminds me of parenting. Parents orient their children. But eventually they need to let go in order for them to reach their full potential.
Have you tried releasing the arms from the sphere after it reached maximum spin?
Yes. The sphere hovers for a while. But its spinning momentum gradually slows to a stop.
So the arms are what cause the sphere to spin. You know. So the sphere needs the arms to be connected.
Actually, the sphere generates all the spin.
Once the arms disconnect, the sphere loses its ability to get orientation data. So to be safe, it stops spinning.
Maybe we could have the arms wirelessly transmit the orientation data the sphere needs.
That's a great suggestion.
Unfortunately, the sphere moves too fast. By the time the sphere receives the arms data, the sphere's position has changed too much.
I feel a little sad that my suggestion was rejected so fast. I think everyone notices my disappointment.
That was a good suggestion. It was one of the first things we tried.
I know it's discouraging when things don't work out. But at least we know what won't work. And we can try something else. Failure is part of the learning process. And should be embraced.
I like how Nick and Penelope are so quick to cheer me up. You're right. The least I can do is give it another try.
In the absence of any other way forward, perhaps we should take the parenting analogy to its logical conclusion. How would a parent motivate their child to be independent?
I'm not sure this analogy thing will work. I was more just stating an observation.
Hold on, Nick. I agree with Andy. We are better off trying something than nothing. And if we think of something better, we can try that.
I'm so proud of you. It takes a lot of personal strength to work on solving problems.
Penelope's right. We always knew you were up to the challenge.
It's super easy to do. With you two always supporting me. By all means. Keep it up. We all laugh and I start to feel that we can really get this working.
Well, continuing with the metaphor. Someone who has independence chooses what direction they want to go in, even if that direction comes from society.
So it's kind of like having your own compass. Or GPS.
Andy and I will look for navigation components that can be added to the sphere.
Well, look at the big brain on you. I'm impressed.
We both are.
I don't mean to reduce your high opinion of me. But how can you choose your own direction and choose a direction based on what society tells you to do? All at the same time.
That question absolutely shows that you have a good head on your shoulders. To answer your question, everyone has social expectations telling them what to do and how to live. Being independent means that you evaluate what society expects from you, so you can decide if that's what you actually want to do.
So we're a lot like Anne and Andy. Their programming is like our social expectations. And their ability to prioritize the dog over the mission is like our ability to determine if we want to do what others expect. It seems that this autonomy you guys keep talking about gives you more control. But it also makes you responsible for your actions.
We found a part that provides navigation information. Now we have to configure it. Here are the options. Orient from last known good configuration or orient using real-time sensors. It looks like option 1 has a lower processing time, while option 2 is more accurate.
Well, Nick, where does this fit into your analogy?
All that positive talk Nick and Penelope have been giving me gives me confidence to answer the question. Orient from last known good configuration. Sounds like doing what people tell you to do. While orient using real-time sensors. Sounds like doing what you think is best given the situation. Trouble is, both options could work. Nick, I know you really like being independent, but I really want to go with the orient from last known good configuration. Because at least we know exactly where we're starting. But if we pick that option, I feel like we're letting someone else make our decisions for us.
I think that's a great option to try. The important thing is that you choose the option and don't let others choose it for you. Being independent means you have the freedom to go in whatever direction you want. Even if it means going in the direction everyone else is going.
Look, you had a very good reason for choosing your option.
I'll tell Andy to start the machine. Please stand clear.
No one says a word as the machine starts spinning. Then the arms release the sphere. It spins so fast that I can't see any detail. Suddenly the spinning slows down. The arms reattach to the sphere. Everything slows down to a total stop.
We had a 50-50 chance, so it's time to try the only other option we know of.
Hold on a second, Nick. We should at least have a good reason for picking our next option. We don't want to make our situation worse by breaking something.
Penelope then turns to Andy.
Do you know why the sphere stopped spinning?
One moment as I analyze the data.
Andy stands motionless for just a few seconds.
It appears that the sphere's weight shifts as it spins and the sphere fails to account for the change.
It sounds like the sphere needs to adjust itself according to its changing situation. I guess you were right, Nick. Let's try. Orient using real-time sensors.
I'll make the setting change. One moment please.
If at first you don't succeed, I guess.
There is an error that says, no sensor input was found.
We appear to be missing more parts than just the GPS.
This is discouraging. There always seems to be another problem to take care of.
It'll be okay. We can just keep on trying. If one solution doesn't work, we will try another.
Besides, you've already shown that we can make progress. After all, you were the one that thought of the GPS unit in the first place.
You helped too, Nick. Your parenting analogy put us on the right track.
Now that you mention it, if we continue with the parenting analogy, it's reasonable to say, in order to make the best choice you can for a situation, you'll need to weigh your options using information from your environment.
Your analogy explains why we need to add sensors. But can it tell us what kind of sensor to add?
There is a moment of silence as we think of our next course of action. When suddenly I get an idea. Weighing and balancing are kind of the same thing. Does the sphere have sensors that give it information about its balance?
One moment as I check.
Let's cross our fingers.
The sphere does not have any sensors relating to balance loaded on it. I will search for the sensors immediately.
You have quite the successful track record when it comes to ideas.
Both of you make it very easy for me to believe in myself.
We just want to see you develop into the best version of yourself. And only you can decide what that is.
We'll be here to help you along the way. If you ever decide that you need the help.
Thank you both.
Andy was able to find a gyroscope and he's installing it now. He'll signal when he's ready to begin the next test.
Nick looks at me.
Are you ready to give this another try?
I sure am. And if this doesn't work, then we can ask the lab for more time and try again.
I'm proud to hear you say that.
Okay. Andy gave the signal. Please stand clear.
Well,
Are we back home?
Suddenly I hear a voice over the speakers in the room.
We're still trying to figure everything out. We also have to figure out what to do with the anomaly.
What anomaly?
Penelope, do you see the dog? The one that isn't supposed to be here.
Yes. This may be bad.
I'm so excited. This is so good. I wanted to keep the dog. Maybe the androids are here too.
This doesn't make sense. We're back way earlier than expected.
What was the last thing you remember?
Andy activated the machine just before we appeared here.
Who?
We can explain all that later. Right now I'd like to know how we got back early.
We're not sure. Just before you arrived, the unformatted matter field manipulator unexpectedly powered off. That means the room you're in was the only place that could possibly be affected. Except for the team and dog, no one else came through.
Look what I found in my purse.
This mission was full of all kinds of surprises.
Mine were in my backpack.
Do you think Anne and Andy's machine did this?
Nothing done in unformatted matter should have effects outside unformatted matter. It's probably a coincidence.
I have 2 follow-up questions to that. Is the dog a coincidence? And can we keep it?
I don't know.
Which question does that answer?
Both.
I really want to keep the dog.
I'll make sure that we keep the dog and that the boys in the lab don't hurt him.
Not that those teddy bears would dream of hurting him.
This is so cool. I can't wait to go on another mission.
Do you think this will save everyone? Almost everything is gone.
We will rebuild. Things will work out. As long as we're around to try.